So what we're doing today is we're having the second public workshop through the DLBA for visioning what the future of the Civic Center would be. It's about an 18 acres of development property, both for public and private uses, and it's basically to reimagine what it currently is from our library and Lincoln Park and City Hall and former courthouse to many of those same uses, but also potentially some private uses. And so we had done an initial workshop where we got some very preliminary input from community stakeholders, and what we're doing now is being a little bit more specific and talking about uses, circulation and connectivity, open space, and public amenities, and hoping to get some input from community stakeholders and share that with the development team as well as our city partners.
So, again, reference point. On either side, we have my Long Beach board, and there's a question on this board. And the question on this board is, what community values should be presented, or represented, in the Long Beach Civic Center? And what we would like you to do is to pick up a Post-it note and kind of write your answer or your wishes or your intentions around what community values would you like to see represented in the Civic Center, and you'll write there, and then we'll just put the Post-it notes here when you're done.
Talking to the community about the 16 acres within the core of the downtown. So this entire space, you have the old courthouse, which is no longer in service. You have the Civic Center, library, the parking lot, the Lincoln Park area, and a remnant parcel here to the north, and trying to figure out the best way to integrate these spaces and these uses into a comprehensive plan that would move forward and really solicit the feedback from the community in terms of the quality of those spaces and define the character of what we define in the public realm.
This is the open space and community amenity station, and so what we're doing is a couple exercises where we're having a dot exercise where people can use dots to show which sort of spaces and functions they want to have in the future park, and then they can also provide comments as far as what are their favorite parks in the, whether it's in the city or from abroad. So trying to get a diverse kind of information and hopefully share them with our future development.
So this is the public realms section, the public realms station, meaning the uses outside of the building and the public space, landscaping, sidewalks, pedestrian amenities, transit amenities, how you get to and from the Civic Center, what kind of environment that is.
So any other place you visited that's spoken to you saw, you said, this is a fantastic space. And if you can think of that location, write it down on the Post-it.
It doesn't have.
It can be any.
It doesn't have to be.
Well, you know what? This is downtown's plural. So just one Post-it per person, but if you've got like 10 examples, list them. Okay. Seriously, okay? So I encourage you to go back to the Post-its and come up with your inspiration for downtown.
That's the hottest.
Hi, we're here at the Public Realm Station, which includes opportunities for all of our participants to give their feedback on streetscapes, public art, architecture, and all the things that impact that public realm experience.
The arts, cultural, education, community-driven, sustainable. That's a lot of the themes that are also through here. Also green. Once again, sustainability, open feel, and obviously accessible for all. That's a big thing. And then back over here, as we move to sort of the adjectives to describe how you would envision a new Long Beach Civic Center: exciting, engaging, fun, grassroots, adaptive reuse. And once again, the arts. That seems to be sort of a recurring thing a lot. People want this to be a place that looks and has the community feel and the art feel of downtown. Once again, adaptive reuse. So a lot of these things are a lot of people think a lot, and we have many people checked who didn't write down there. They just put a check or put a +1. So that's sort of the themes that we got from this board.
Right, and then at the next station we had the public realm. So our first board was on transportation and accessibility. So our first question was, what would be your preferred mode of travel to get to and from a new Long Beach Civic Center? And we saw a lot of responses around pedestrian friendliness and bike friendliness. A lot of people who are walking and biking to downtown and to the Civic Center. And the other big theme we saw was public transportation. So increased bus routes, metro routes, stations really close to the Civic Center. The next question, building off of that, is what features or elements would you support or enhance your preferred mode of travel to and from a new Long Beach Civic Center? So this included a lot about clean, smooth, accessible streets and sidewalks that are accessible to everybody, ADA compliancy, free parking, free buses, and bike racks. And there's also some suggestions around bike paths, dedicated bike paths for faster riders, as well as some pedestrian paths.
All right, so our next board had to do with streetscape character. A couple of themes you see here, people, 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 right? Outdoor dining, walking around, those types of things. Nice to see the promenade getting some favorable reviews here. But really you see those gathering spaces where there are a lot of people here scoring very well on this board. And then finally, these streetscape features. Lots of votes for seating, public art, wayfinding and other information. Not so much for sidewalk markers.
And so my station was the land uses and activities. So we had 3 boards here. The first one had to do specifically with site uses. These were things relevant to a use or event that would make the Civic Center a vibrant and inviting space, keeping in consideration that City Hall and the library would remain. And so you can see from the distribution of the dots, a lot of them had to do, again, focus on the cultural amenities. So we had things like a museum and open space, performing arts center, art shows, farmers market, and so forth. And kind of the next tier from that had to do with kind of the restaurant retail shops and some other ancillary uses there as well. We had some other categories that were listed here in terms of fountains and gardens, but again speaks to kind of the holistic nature of the space there. When you go down to activities and events, this was trying to identify one type of business activity or event that would activate that space as you'd like to see. When I take a quick sampling of this, I see a lot of art museum and components of that, so this simply is a very strong desire we're seeing from the prior 2 categories to see something like that, some type of element tied into the Civic Center. In addition to musical elements, things specific to dance and culture, things like that. So those were coming up, and again, we see the farmers market arrive on the scene. And then the last one that we had here had to do with inspiration. So where do you go? Other downtowns, districts, or civic spaces that should serve as an inspiration for the Civic Center. And so again, we have a pretty diverse range of places, but you begin to see a repeating theme in terms of other spaces that people tend to gravitate towards. So we see things like the San Francisco Civic Center, Seattle, Portland, Oakland, downtown Santa Cruz, downtown Los Angeles. So you start thinking of the quality of those spaces and how they were ultimately designed and executed, and the successes of those are seen as a kind of a resonating theme here for how the Civic Center should be approached.
Open space features and types and our favorite spaces around the city. And I think overwhelmingly people want gathering places seem to be a place to gather, and primarily I think people wanted to see natural, over hardscape, beautiful, natural place of community gathering. Public art is a big winner. Temporary furniture and other kinds of movable items that could accommodate a lot of kinds of different activities. People want to see that kind of activity. And I think fitness got a lot of some sort of fitness activities. So actually a place where people could come and there's scheduled things, there's free things. Music, music, music. People want music in the Civic Center Park, as well as other kinds of cultural gathering, things that would draw people there, maybe even a place to start things that do go somewhere else. The other places around town that people feel we could emulate, Bixby Bluff and the kinds of free activities that go on there. Again, more people gathering together. And let's see, I can't read this far, but there were lots of other, I think, San Francisco Park, Central Park in New York. So I think their big parks and the big civic identity from larger cities is what people want us to be trying to strive for here in Long Beach.
We will continue to have these open forums and gather more information as we get closer to, as the city gets closer to naming that developer. And as I mentioned earlier, once the developer is named, then we'll be able to give them all this information if they already don't have it, and be able to provide them greater insight and certainly speak from a louder voice based on your participation.
Yeah, I was wondering, how did the DLBA, really become the lead? You guys have been doing a great job at engaging the public, but I'm just surprised that the city itself wasn't engaging the public so thoroughly as you guys have been. How did you guys end up taking the lead?
I can't speak why the city is doing what they're doing or what they're not doing. But as I mentioned earlier, public realm became a very high priority for us in our updated strategic plan. And when we updated it last June, we noticed 6 or 7 different things in there that we really wanted to get done. This was one of them. We knew this was going to be a major project in our downtown, and certainly this type of project changes the landscape of your downtown. And so we didn't want to be a spectator. We wanted to take a leadership position and be able to help facilitate information from general members of the community and really provide that as a conduit to the developers and to the city. Yes?
I just want to thank you guys for hosting these events, because if you weren't doing it, then we would only have 2 very poorly attended public outreach meetings, and it means a lot. So I just want to say thank you to the DLBA for hosting these.
Thank you.
It's a valuable resource, and I have been following this project since I first heard about it several months ago. And I initially was really disheartened by the lack of public support for maintaining our heritage and trying to find some way to reuse at least 1 or 2 of the buildings on the site. And attending these meetings has really made me realize that I'm not the only one who wants that, and has given the people that are in this room and the people who attended the last meeting an outlet to say that they are interested in seeing adaptive reuse in the Civic Center.
I like the support that's here for all persons with all differing types of disabilities, because that means that we have a city that's become much more inclusive than what it was 26 years ago.
Again, thank you very much for attending. Thank you very much for participating.